So in this lecture, we're going to look at how to create a poster like this. Okay, so this is a poster created for Oman Tourism, and we are basically going to use some images or pre-created images to get this entire design done. Okay, so if you take a closer look, we basically have the logo of Oman Tourism. We have a tagline, okay, beauty has an address, and then we have some text. Okay, so this text does not have to be anything suitable for this, but it's just some random text. And then down here we have the contact information, which is the website. Okay, and above that you can see that we have some little design elements here, right? And then we have one background image, which is desert. Okay, and we have three other pictures like a photo frame. Okay, so we have picture, and then we have a frame on top of it, and then we have some little shadows blending those with the background. So we'll start from the bottom and then we'll just build up all those other things. Okay, so to start with, I'm also going to show you the kind of images that we're going to use. Okay, so let me just bring them in. So bring all of them here. Okay, so we have the logo, then we have one of these images, and this is the one that we're going to use as a background image, and then we have other two images as well. Do I have two logos? Yeah, here's another one. Okay, fine. So I'm going to start with a blank document. So let's go to File, choose New. Okay, I'm going to use A4 as my size, but I'm not going to stay with the same default values. I'm going to change them slightly. So resolution, I'm going to make it as 100, or 150 is also fine, because 300 is too big and my images are not that big, so I'm going to keep it as 100. And I'm going to use it for printing, so I'm going to make this as CMYK instead of RGB. Let's hit OK or create. So that brings our document here. So next thing that I want to do is I want to basically start from this bottom design. So you can see that we have this nice bluish colors, and I'm going to start basically from there. So to start with, I'm going to take my pen tool, right? And I'm going to make sure that I have shape selected here. Okay, so first I'm going to start from this darker color that we have. So let's say go ahead and choose the dark blue. I can actually take anything from there, or let's see if there is some bluish styles here. Purple, I think this is good. So I can actually use these three different colors or four different colors. So I'll start with this darker blue here. And I'm going to basically start from here, 1 point. So just click. And the next thing that I want to do is just click and drag. Okay, so that's going to bring us this nice arc. Okay, so don't worry about this line, that is this shape or fill area that is coming in the top. We will get rid of that later. And notice I have actually started from outside of the frame. Okay, so it's not just in the frame, it's outside of the frame. So that will make sure that we have a nice start there instead of finding it to put it exactly in this point. So now I need to click outside in the right side here. So click and drag. Okay, watch what happens. Okay, so we have this nice smooth result here. Okay, and then I'm going to press Alt and click here, so just to remove that extra handle. And I can go all the way down here, and then all the way down here, and just finish up exactly the place where we started. Now if you think that it is not 100% as you expected, we can still make changes to that just by using this direct selection tool. So that's the white arrow tool. So click here, and then I can just adjust this point. Okay, and I can also adjust this curve. Okay, so maybe I can just keep it like so, then adjust that like so, because we have this point also coming down here. And I can also reduce that a bit if I want, or change it basically to your liking. Okay, so once we're done, so that's the first layer that we have. And now next to that, I want to have a light blue color. Okay, so for the light blue color, I'm going to go back to the same place. Let's take the pen tool here, and I can just fill this fill. And I'm going to basically pick this light blue just to have a much contrast there. Okay, so make sure that we need to remove this selection. Let me just get back to this old color, hit out here so that it basically deselects that layer, and then I'm going to change the color to light blue. So now what I'm going to draw is going to be in light blue. Now let me just zoom in a bit by pressing Control and plus. Okay, so scroll down just a little bit like so. Okay, good. So let's hit out here. So that's the second stroke, and I'm going to click and drag. Okay, and I will also do the same thing down here. Okay, so click close here and just finish up. Okay, now once we're done with that, we can also just select that and just adjust it to the position that you want. Okay, so now this is just one method. We could have done something that is even easier than this. We could have simply duplicated this same existing layer and changed its color and made further modifications. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so I'm going to take this second layer that I've created, click and drag all the way down here, and then I'm going to change this color. Okay, so I can just go back here and change this to where was it, purple? Yeah, so I'm going to pick something in between, so I think that would look nice. Okay, now don't worry if the color changed, because this is the next one, or the third shape that we have brought in. So the third shape, all I need to do is just bring it down a bit. I can either use these individual points to move them, or I can actually use my direct selection tool to move the entire shapes. I'm going to use the path selection tool to move the entire shape. So I'm going to use the direct selection tool because I want to have some manual changes here as well. I don't want it to look the same as the previous one. So I can just pull this out a bit, push this like so. And I can also pull this last one down here. So we have some little randomized appearance here. Just click on it again, select that, push this over like so. Yep, there you go. So once you're happy with the result, if you want, you can even have like maybe a bit larger space here. Say select that guy, push him all the way here like so. You want to have this kind of a result, you can do that as well. And I can also maybe just push this guy a little bit higher. Okay, so like the darker blue is thicker in the right side and thinner in the left side. The lighter blue is thicker in the left side and thinner in the right side. So whatever kind of design that you have in your mind, you can basically work it out. Or maybe you can just make this top one to be light blue and the bottom one to be dark blue. So whatever the kind of liking that you have, you can actually design it here. Okay, so now that is done. Now next thing that I want to do is I want to bring in the logo. Okay, I have actually 3 sets of lines, and right in the bottom we have white color. So let me just add one more layer here. So let's just click this and drag it all the way. So that adds the third one. Now this one I'm going to just click and drag it down. So let's say I'll choose my path selection tool, click and drag it all the way down here. Maybe just create a little bit of offset. That's nice. And I want to change the color back to white. There you go. So now we have exactly the kind of result that we wanted. Okay, so if you want to keep it with the darker color itself and you can have the other content in contrasting color, that is also welcomed. But for our case, we're going to keep it like this. Next thing that we want to do is we want to add the logo here. So let me just find the logo file, this one. And you can see that we have nice white background, so it is not a problem for us. You can simply click and drag it and drop it down here. And because we have the white background, we don't have to do anything more here. Okay, so if you have a different color background, then you will have to adjust or remove the background and do some other stuff as well. So that's fine. Let's just keep it there. And then we want to create some text and then subheadings and stuff like that. I think I'll just push this a little bit up because we need to have a footer as well. So I'll just select all these other guys, just move them up as well. Not too much, just there. Even that is looking nice. I can also use my keyboard to move them up as well. Good. So now I need to add the text. No, I think I should push it even further up because we need to have some text there. Okay, so in terms of text, I'm going to take my text tool, simple as you know. I'm going to write here TY beauty. It's not showing because the text color is white. I'm actually going to pick the colors from this logo itself. So I want to have this dark color here. So I can just simply click on that. So it picks that color and applies there. Now this one I want to have more like a handwritten font. So I'm going to hit OK here just to finalize that text. And let's find a font that is looking more like a handwriting. So let's go down, 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 down. These are looking like handwriting script. Okay, let's try to find something more like handwriting. This is nice. Yeah, so I'm going to write here, beauty has an address, ADDRESS. Okay, and that is Oman. So let's just make that smaller like so. There you go, just keep it there. If you don't like the font, you can basically change it. That's totally up to you. I think I'll make it a bit more smaller as well. Now, when making text smaller, instead of pressing Ctrl T and transforming, it's always recommended to change the font size so that you will have more control over the exact size of that font. Okay, so that is up to you. Now we want to create a paragraph text. So I'm going to take the text tool and we need to change the font, more formal font, regular font size. Oops. Okay, undo that. I'm going to deselect. Okay, then we will change the font. So click and drag. Okay, and change the size to 12. Change the font. There you go. Make it justified to the left, or maybe justified to both sides. I can just go to paragraph and click on this guy. So it justifies the text to both sides. Maybe I can have one more paragraph. So let's copy that, go to the next line, and paste that as well. Okay, now maybe I can just make this, I think that's fine. It's fitting in perfectly fine there. So let's just change the font to something else. I don't like the script. Let's look for other scripts. Yeah, this one looks nice. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So let's select move tool and just put him exactly where we want him to be. Good. So now what we want to do is we want to bring in some pictures, and let's just create this footer and then move on to the pictures. So for the footer, I'm going to take a simple rectangle, fill this with a different color, and footer is going to be right in the bottom, so I can actually go here. No, it should be above this shape that we created. So what I want to do is I want to create a rectangle. I'll zoom in a bit. This rectangle can be even outside, not a problem. So till there. And because it is white, it's not showing, so let's just change the color. I can even pick a color from here, so let's choose that. and maybe this greener color. I don't know, let's try that. Hit OK. Yeah, that looks nice. So here I want to add the website, so let's say don't click inside like that. Deselect the layer, or take a new layer and then type the text here. So let's say www.omantourism.com or .om, up to you. Let's just select that, and I'll change the color to white so that it will be more clearly visible. I'll make the size bigger, not too big and not too small. Now, while arranging this, I need to actually put it in the right, exactly in the middle. So if I just do that, it will give us this little guide. But this will work only if you have the newer version of Photoshop. If you have the older version of Photoshop, the easiest way is make sure that you have the ruler. If you don't have the ruler, go to View and choose Rulers, or Control R for shortcut. And then right click here and make sure that you have %. Okay, so now the starting in the left side is 0%, and the right side end is 100%. So all we need to find is this 50% point. Now, to mark that 50% point, I can just click on this vertical ruler, click and drag, and press Shift just to make sure that we're putting exactly on 50. Okay, so release the mouse there, and now we have this middle point. I can take this, press Control T, and make sure that it is right there in the middle. There you go. That's it. So now we made sure that we have the footer ready as well. So once you're done, you can simply click and drag it out here. It will be removed. Good. So next thing that we want to do is we finished the bottom area. Let's just finish the top area as well. So let's go ahead and go to bring these images. So let's say I want to bring that big one first. Yeah, this one. I'm going to click and drag all the way here, drop it here. Now it comes above these shapes, so let's just bring this below here, below all these shapes. This can be the last layer also, no problem. So drop it all the way there, behind there. Okay, it pretty much fits the exact size that we wanted, so it's fine. Now if you want, you can blur it out a little bit. Okay, so to blur it out a bit, we can go to Filter, and there you'll find Blur. Let's choose Gaussian blur. Okay, so it just blurs that image like so to 5 pixels. You can actually have a preview of how it is going to look after the blur. Now you can do this if you have a smaller image as well. So if you have a smaller image, just blow it up bigger. It may not look good, it might look pixelated. Then you can simply apply a little bit of blur, and that will fix that issue. Okay, so that's up to you. So how much you want, maybe 0.5 should be fine. So just a mild blur there, because it's going to be the background image. Okay, so next thing that we want to do is we want to bring in the other pictures as well. So we have 3 other pictures, but they are not in the same size. This is a problem, especially when we are working with creating borders and stuff like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to first bring all these 3 images, and I'll make them into the same size. Okay, so let's take this last one. Yep. Okay, so we have these three images, and we want to make them into the same size. So I want to pick the small one, and then I'll try to make the others in the same size. Now notice, generally when we bring in pictures, they will come as smart object. You won't be able to edit them, but because I brought them from inside Photoshop, one file to the other file, they are not smart objects. Keep this in mind. Okay, so you need to be very careful if you're just bringing in a picture outside of Photoshop. Okay, so they will not be in the same size. Great. So now next thing that I want to do is I want to just make sure that I want to pick the smallest one. I think this one is the smallest one, this one. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make sure that the others are also being adjusted or made smaller according to the same size that we have. Okay, so I'm going to bring all these three guys together. I'm going to make them smaller a bit because this image space that we have is too big. I'll press Control T and make them all smaller. So I think that size is okay. Press enter, and then I want to just take this size, the mosque, as my default size, and I want to make the same for the others as well. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to press Control key and click here. So watch what happens. If I press Control and click on this thumbnail, it's basically going to give us a selection. Okay, that's cool. Now, with this selection, what I can do is I can basically make a cut of all these other objects. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just select the selection tool here. Just move this selection over to the next image. Okay, so we can basically cut down these other areas. Okay, so I'm going to basically delete whatever is outside. So I'm going to first invert the selection by pressing Control Shift I. Okay, so that basically inverts the selection and selects everything outside of that shape. Or you could have actually done the same thing with the selection or the shape by creating a clipping mask as well. So that's up to you. I'm going to delete in my case. Now, before we delete, we need to do one more thing. We need to select the layer that we want to delete. Okay, so if you keep at this layer and click delete, nothing is going to happen. Actually, it's going to delete whatever we have here. Okay, so let's go to this layer and press delete to get rid of those extra content. Now I'll have to do the same thing for this guy. So let's just bring this down over here. Okay, I think that's pretty much good. Okay, now press delete key. Oops, I need to change the layer again. So go here and delete. So now all the three images are in the same size. That is so perfect. Good. So now what I need to do is I need to create that border, right? So I need to create a border, and based on the border, I can actually fill in colors and stuff like that. Okay, so to create the border, I'm actually going to use a simple rectangle here. So let's go to rectangle here, and I can basically start from here. I'm just using this image as a reference for now. I can simply click here and drag all the way down. Okay, now for the bottom, I'm going to push it a little bit longer, generally like a postcard. Okay, and we have it as white color. Okay, now because this guy came above that and you're not seeing it, so let's just bring this down over like so. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it to my eye level to make sure that they are in the same size, but you can just still make further adjustments as well. Hit OK to finalize. Now we need two more copies of the same. So what I can do is just click and drag, okay, and then bring this below this guy and move him over there. Not that one, this one. Now if you're getting confused about selecting the right one, you can actually hide the one that you don't want, and you can adjust the other one to place him here. Okay, and then I want to make one more copy of that, and this will go below this guy, who's this guy, and I'm going to hide this one. Just bring this over here. I can use my keyboard arrow keys just to precisely position it. Okay, now let me just turn these things on. Perfect. Now, one more thing that I want to do is whenever I move this guy, I want this background also to move with it. Okay, so what we can do is select these two guys, and I'm going to link them. Okay, you will see this little link button. So that means whenever I select one, it will also move the other as well. Okay, that is perfect. Now same thing I'll do for this guy. Now remember, that's why I put them just below them, so that we will know exactly what object we are moving. Okay, now I think these images are still a bit bigger compared to this background that I have, so I'm going to select all 6 of those layers. Okay, and I'm going to press Ctrl T to make them smaller. And the reason why I selected all the 6 of them is to make sure that all of them are in the same size. Okay, so now let me just select this, push this all the way up here, keep them here, keep this guy here, and I can do some little rotation here. Now, do not do this rotation before you make this copy. Okay, so if you do that, then it'll be very difficult to make the other copy and just put them in the same exact angle. Okay, so once you're finished till this much, now we can just do a little bit of rotation here. Now, even if it goes a little bit out, that's fine. It's just a different style, so it's okay. Press Ctrl T, just rotate it like so, keep him like so, press enter, okay, Ctrl T again, and that's it. I think this can be rotated like so. I don't know. Okay, so whichever you think to be suitable, you can do that. Okay, so one last thing just to finish up, just before finishing up, I can just add a little bit of shadow to these guys. So let me start from this guy. I can add the shadow here for this, the white border that we created. I can go here and choose drop shadow. All right, so with drop shadow, I can actually increase the spread a bit, not too much, just a little bit. Okay, and the distance can be fine. Okay, now you can see with the shadow and without the shadow, you can see the difference here. Okay, so this is with shadow and this is without the shadow. And now I want to apply the same shadow to these other 2 objects as well, so it's much easier. So press Alt key, click and drag that over here, so that adds the shadow to this mosque image that we have. And I will also do the same thing by pressing Alt, click and drag to the next one as well. Okay, so now you can see that we have shadows for these 3 different images. Now we can also add a little bit of shadow to these images inside the frame, which can improve the depth a little bit. Okay, so let's give it a try by pressing Alt key and dragging and dropping the same one. For this one, Alt, okay, click and drop. But we don't want it to be this much. We can just double click on the drop shadow here, and I want to have it like very sharp, so let's reduce the spread and reduce the size as well. So let me just zoom in a bit here. Okay, so I think that looks good. Now I will also push this distance to be 0 so that it will actually spread the shadow in all directions instead of just one direction. I'll reduce the spread, actually keep the size a bit like so. Now we can actually preview this. So hit this preview button. Okay, so that is without the effect, and this is with the effect. Even without, what is happening here? Something's wrong. Okay, the preview is actually showing between the change that we did, so I need to turn off this drop shadow here just to check how this is going to look. Okay, so with the effect and without the effect. Okay, so this is with the effect, this is without the effect. So let me just reduce the spread even down here. Maybe just 1% or 0.5%. No, it has to be 1%, okay? So without, with. And I'll make the distance to be 0 so it actually spreads out to all that sides, okay? So I will apply the same for these other images as well. So press Alt, click and drag onto this guy. Alt, click and drag to this guy. So for this frames, we have a different drop shadow, and for the pictures, we have a different drop shadow. Okay, so I think that looks good. Let's just check with the, or compare with the original image that we took as a reference. The way it is being rotated is slightly different, but otherwise we have pretty much the same result. The shadows here is a bit darker, so we can do that as well if you want to. So that ends the lecture today.